Welcome, everyone, to our third Thursday Narrative Enneagram Community Gathering. We appreciate all of you being here today. It's a real privilege for me to be able to introduce my co-host, Abby Robbins. Abby, would you like to just say a few minutes for us?
Yeah, I'm super excited to be here and to share some stuff that I'm really passionate about. So I'm excited to get into it.
So am I. Thank you. To give you a little information about Abby now, and then I'm going to do a brief guided practice to get everyone really present here. And then I'll be passing it over back to Abby after that. Abby is a certified narrative Enneagram teacher, so a yoga therapist, certified through the International Association of Yoga Therapists. These two systems have never been separated for Abby. They have also taught classes and workshops since 2017. Abby launched a podcast, which was downloaded all over the world. And in 2021, they published their first book, The Conscious Enneagram, How to Move from Typology to Transformation. And like I said, before I pass it over to Abby, we always start with a short guided practice so that we can all get present together. So I encourage you at this time to settle in to your seat. And if you want to close your eyes here and just take a couple of nice deep breaths to bring yourself here in this present moment. In and down. And just noticing as you continue just a breath in and down, noticing just where maybe in your body you might be feeling any tension, any stress, and just see if you can allow that breath to create a little bit more space. As you continue your breath in and down, see if you can feel into your heart space today. How are you feeling? How is your emotional body? Bringing this awareness of breath into our heart space. Wherever you are, just noticing and seeing if there's a way to create a little bit more opening. And also with the breath, moving into your thoughts, just feeling the breath in and down and pausing just a moment just to notice. Are there any thoughts that are maybe about the past or the future? What can you do to just shift your awareness here and now to the present moment? And given that our conversation today is about breath work, I'm going to share a poem today about breath by Donna Martin. It's called The Breath is Life's Teacher. So again, continuing, you can just keep your eyes still and following your breath as you hear these words. Observe me, says the breath, and learn to live effortlessly in the present moment. Feel me, says the breath, and feel the ebb and the flow of life. Allow me, says the breath, and I'll sustain and nourish you, filling you with energy and cleansing you of tension and fatigue. Move with me, says the breath, and I'll invite your soul to dance. Make sounds with me, and I shall teach your soul to sing. Follow me, says the breath, and I'll lead you out to the farthest reaches of the universe and inward to the deepest parts of your inner world. Notice, says the breath, that I am as valuable to you coming or going, that every part of my cycle is as necessary as another, that after I'm released, I return again and again, that even after a long pause, moments when nothing seems to happen, eventually I am there. Each time I come, says the breath, I am a gift from life. So feeling into that breath, this gift of life. And whenever you're ready, as you become more aware back into this space, I encourage you to open your eyes. And now I will pass this on to Abby. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, y'all. I'm super excited to be here with you today, sharing one of the things that I am just most passionate about in the entire world. And to make a long story short, it's the power of our breath. As Evangeline shared in my little bio, I discovered the Enneagram only a few weeks after I had started a yoga practice really in earnest. I was, practicing every day, doing daily practice, all these things, and a friend shared with me like, "Oh, here's this thing you're going to want to know about." And I dove in, and as I look back, I see this as um, one of the great gifts of my life, that the Enneagram landed for me in a way that made it so clear what we're supposed to do with it. Um, the Enneagram is this incredible map of human personality, which you all know because you're here and this is a narrative Enneagram thing. Um, and I think I will say that I lead it with an 8, and so you're going to hear some of that come through in what I talk about. But one of the things that I think I'm most frustrated about when it comes to studying the Enneagram and talking about the Enneagram is that there can be this tendency to talk about the Enneagram or talk about type or talk around the transformational process instead of engaging in it. And I'm fortunate that I discovered this tool, I discovered this map as I was learning to drive the right kind of vehicle to get me where I wanted to go. And that is the practices of yoga. Yoga is not just going to some class in your Lululemon clothes and looking cute and doing your downward facing dogs and whatever. Yoga is this massive systematic um, guidebook, this systematic set of practices that are at all times geared towards moving us into our liberation. And that is everything from our physical movements, how we treat and care for our bodies, to our breath, our energy, to how we use our minds, how we can focus our minds, how we can detach from identifying with our bodies, our minds, our emotions, and identify with who we really are at our core. And this is where I feel the Enneagram and yoga have this incredible amount of overlap, because the Enneagram's giving us this incredible map of, oh, here are the things that I'm doing unconsciously. Here are the places I put my identity without really knowing that that's not true. And yoga says, yeah, you're going to do all this. You're going to you're going to identify with things with the world of forms. You're going to identify with things that are not who you really are. And here are the practices to help you do that less. And as I've worked with the Enneagram and yoga for the last nine, well, I mean, worked professionally for the last 9 years. I've been practicing with both of these things for over a decade. Um, I've found that the correlation between the practices of yoga and the Enneagram gives us a lot of power and gives us something we can actually do in order to support our growth and transformation. You're going to hear me say the do word, the D word a lot. It's my 8 coming through, right? Like, yes, awareness is important, but if awareness is not followed by practice, then awareness is not going to be very helpful for us in the long term. And yoga sets out this really incredible set of practices we can use. There's already a nearly 5,000-year-old roadmap for how we can engage in this transformational process. And so today we're going to talk about I think, one of the most powerful tools in the yogic toolbox, and that is the breath. Now, systematically, pranayama or breath work, breath control, or breath releasing, depending on how you want to translate it, comes after asana, right? After the physical movements. Um, but I've found in my work that for a little taste of something transformational, right? We only have a few minutes with each other today. An hour is like, I don't know if you've been coming to these community events often, but man, an hour is not enough time to really get into the juice. I want to sit with y'all all day and dive into this stuff. And so I'm going to give you the practices that give the most bang for the buck as far as creating an experience. And for that, we skip over the movement and we move right into the breath work. Now, yogically speaking, the breath and our life energy are exactly the same thing. There is no separation between the way that we breathe and the way that we experience the world around us. Right? We remember we don't see things as we are, we don't see things as they are, we see things as we are. And our breath is one of the most foundational things that dictates how we are. And I see the breath play out in all these really interesting ways. And we'll talk a little bit about that. But the first thing we're going to do, just to give you a taste, we're going to work with what is called a foundational breath technique. So this is one of the types of techniques that I would work with anyone coming off the street, right? I'm real picky about what kind of breath work I give to people. And when we're in a group, it's hard for me. I can't go through and give, a 5-minute breath assessment to each and every one of you. We'd be here all day. Again, I said I want to be here all day with you guys. But this is one of the practices that I would start somebody with, regardless of what they're coming in with, because these types of foundational practices train the body in the most efficient and effective way of breathing and regulating your bodily energy. So, what we're going to do today, some people call this full yogic breath. Some people, it's kind of the way I teach it, it's a little bit of a shift from what they call 3-part breath because I teach it in 2 parts. But I invite you now to kind of find yourself in a relaxed position. If you're sitting in a chair, see if you can feel the weight of your body sinking into that chair a little bit more. If you are sitting somewhere that doesn't have a back, really ground yourself down into the earth through your sit bones and feel your spine lifting up. If you do have a back, I'm going to invite you to relax into it just a little bit more. So you're either sitting straight up or you're slightly relaxed back. Those are the best places to be right now. And then I'm going to invite you, I'm going to kind of bring my seat back a little bit. I'm going to invite you to bring a hand to your chest. And I'm going to be kind of specific about where I want this hand. I want your ring finger and your thumb to be right about your collarbones, just below the collarbones. And you can see how, oh, that kind of spreads out my hand a little bit wider, right? And it puts you right kind of at the top of your chest, more above the heart space, but just right about here. And then with your other hand, I'm going to invite you to take your thumb and put it in your belly button. Right? And with your thumb in your belly button, you're going to relax the rest of your hand down to that lowest part of your belly. And you can feel already why I kind of instructed you to relax back a little bit. This placement is really important because it's going to help us highlight and have some biofeedback around where the breath is moving. So I invite you to close your eyes. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to bring your attention to your exhale. It feels a little backwards at first. But as you start your exhale, I'm going to invite you to see if you can engage all the muscles that are underneath that lower hand. Can you draw in that lowest part of your belly nice and slow and smooth as you exhale? And then can you relax it as you inhale? Exhaling, drawing the lower belly in nice and smooth and relaxed. And then gently relaxing that part of the belly as you breathe in. Take just a couple more breaths and see if you can feel that. Notice if it feels foreign or familiar. Maybe this is where you spend a lot of your time breathing. Maybe this movement is like, yeah, that's what I do. Maybe this is the craziest thing anyone has ever asked you to do. Maybe this feels totally bizarre. And that's okay. Just notice. Maybe it's just somewhere in the middle. Now, without losing what you're doing with your exhale, we're going to shift our focus to the inhale. And as you inhale, I want you to imagine breathing deeply into the hand that's on your chest. So you're trying to lift up and out as you inhale, expanding the chest, the rib cage in all directions. And then as you exhale, slowly feel the lower belly drawing in and then relax the chest. Each inhale, feeling the chest expand all directions. And then each exhale, allowing it to relax. And notice what that feels like. See if you can breathe a little bit more into your back. See if you can feel the sides of your rib cage lift up and out. And then see if you can gently allow it to relax. Now we're going to put the two together. So this might take a little bit of brain power. We're going to allow the inhale to be led by the chest. So as you inhale, you will breathe in fully, letting the chest expand, and then you'll relax the lower belly, feeling the movement of the breath sink deeper. And then on the exhale, you're going to slowly draw the lower belly in, letting the lower belly drive the exhale, and then the chest will relax after. This is where we're going to find that flow, inhaling the chest fully, then relaxing the lower belly, allowing the breath to sink down. And then just like a tube of toothpaste, we're going to draw the lower belly end at the far end and let the breath come up and out and let the chest relax. Give yourself a few moments here to find this flow of the breath. The inhale, expanding the chest, relaxing the belly. And then the exhale, drawing in the belly, relaxing the chest. Give yourself a couple more moments to find this flow and notice what this feels like. Wonderful. Take 3 more deep breaths just like this. If you'd like to take off the training wheels and take your hands down and notice how it feels to breathe this way without that added support, you're welcome to. Then when you're finished with your 3 breaths, allow your breath to just return to normal, letting go of any conscious control and just notice. Maybe take a moment or two to write down any things that you feel, anything that came up for you, anything that you noticed about the breath. What I'll say about this breath technique is that it might be surprising to some of you, but this is how our body is intended to breathe. When we are breathing effectively and efficiently, and our prana is flowing in all the places it needs to flow, this is how we breathe. Our chest expands as we inhale. Our lower belly relaxes. Our lower belly contracts in as we exhale, and our chest relaxes. This allows for the most effective and efficient movement of our breath, right? And you might even feel slightly fatigued, right? Like drawing in the lower belly feels almost forceful at times. The expansion of the chest is a lot of work, right? So this breath practice actually engages all of the what we call secondary muscles of breathing, right? Anybody who's taking an anatomy and physiology class knows that the primary muscle for breathing is our diaphragm. I'll step on my soapbox for like a half second and say people who call breath diaphragmatic breath, they like teach this as a type of breathing. It drives me up the wall, y'all. You can't breathe without your diaphragm. Every breath is a diaphragmatic breath. Like there are no other ways. So anyway, but what we do in this breath technique is, yes, we are using the diaphragm. That is the main muscle that is drawing the lungs open. But then all of these intercostal muscles, all of the levators, all of these things that are happening here in our chest help to expand the lungs even more. And then as we breathe out, the diaphragm relaxes, right? It's like, okay, whatever. But if just the diaphragm relaxes, we don't have a full exhale. And without a full exhale, stale breath can stay in your lungs for as long as 7 days before it's released. So if you're ever feeling kind of sluggish and gross and blah, a few of these really deep breaths will set you straight pretty quick, right? Because the lower belly comes in and draws all of this up, right, to support the diaphragm and help push the ends of the exhale out. And then our chest can relax. So, this breath practice is incredibly active. It takes some attention to get used to. But what it does is it trains our body to come back to this full, systematic way of breathing, right? That we do naturally, right? If you've ever watched a baby breathe, you see the chest moving, you see the belly expanding and retract, like the whole abdomen, the whole body is involved in the breath. And that is true for the most part until, right? We run into life, we have experiences, we think, oh, I need to shrink back, or oh, I need to be bigger, or oh, I can't be vulnerable, I can't relax, right? Our type comes in. And as our type starts to form, the breath is formed right along with it. And so working with the breath is actually an incredibly powerful way to create the mental and emotional capacity we need to address the personality patterns that maybe aren't getting us what we want anymore in our lives and relationships and our spiritual practices. Um, the breath is such a potent way to start to shake up what the type has made very, very stale. Um, at what point do we shift into like what's the time? Sorry, I get to talking and then I don't want to I want to make sure that y'all have time for your breakout groups and for question and answer. Evangeline, how much time do you say would you think I have?
Well, you got about just a couple more minutes.
Cool. Cool. Um, again, y'all, I want to do this all day with you. This is like not even enough. I feel like a tease. Like there's so much more here. But one of the things that I think is really powerful to talk about is that as we look at how the Enneagram looks at the human system, right? We have our centers, we have our body center, our heart center, and our head center. The yogic system aligns with this really, really beautifully. And what it does is it shows us that the more gross, as in gross versus subtle, the energy is, the harder it is to work with, right? So yoga gives us this system. It's like, okay, we work with the body first. We do movements, we become aware of how we move in the world, and then we can move into working with our emotional capacities. And what yoga says is the best way to work with our emotional capacity is the breath. Right. And there's so much Western science coming in to back this up with polyvagal theory and all of these things that teach us how to regulate ourselves emotionally. It all comes down to regulating the breath, right? Regulating the life force. And then from there, we have the handholds we need to actually start observing what our mind is doing and not just observing, but disidentifying from it, non-identifying from it. And so our breath work gives us the mental and emotional space to be much more intentional, not just with how we work with our Enneagram type, but how we live and relate in our relationships, our lives, the things that we want, the things that we move towards. Being able to work with this energy and create this kind of space is is the pathway forward for our transformation. And I hope that even just this small breath practice has given you something to kind of chew on and think about and experience that's different than the way you've normally been operating. Um, So, with that, thank you for giving me your time and attention. I'm excited to dive into the questions and answers and to hear about your experiences in our group share. But I'll send it over to Evangeline to send us into our breakout rooms.
Thank you, Abby. That was so wonderful. And now we have a chance in our breakout groups to be able to share how it was for you. So, in a couple of moments, I'll be opening up the breakout rooms. I just want to give you a reminder or instructions if you haven't been with us before. This is really a time where we connect with community members. And just like we do in our trainings, it's really important to show up with that real quality of relational presence, right? We're just here to listen and share our hearts, know that whatever's said in the breakout groups is confidential, and can get a lot out of this little time together. If there's any of you who do not want to do a breakout group, that's totally fine. You're okay to, if you want to, you can leave the meeting now and come back at 12:40. Not 12, 40 minutes after the hour, depending on where you are. I'm on Central Time, so, and I'm going to put you in groups of, most of you will have groups of 3, you might have 4. And the questions that I'd like you to consider for the breakout is, first of all, just check in. How was this breathing practice exercise for you? What was it like for you? How did it move you or shift you or give you any awarenesses. And then maybe a little bit deeper under that is how might deepening this practice really actually be able to support you in your daily life and maybe make changes that might have been hard to do. So I'm going to now open up the rooms and look forward to seeing y'all later. We're going to come back, and that'll be a chance where you can um, ask Abby any direct questions for yourself, and they'll be happy to answer. So we are ready to open the rooms and see you on the other side. Lead a group share.
Yeah, so here to answer questions. If you've got, I mean, questions, comments, concerns, all that stuff, right? Your typical customer service hotline stuff. Um, but go ahead and raise your virtual hand. There's a little thing down at the bottom that says the react button. There's a hand raise option. And we're just going to go through and I'm going to answer as many questions as I can. And if you've got a burning question that I don't get to, then I'll make sure that all my contact information is in the chat so you can like email me. We can talk some more. As I said earlier, this is like my favorite stuff to talk about. So I'm always down for answering questions and connecting with folks. Karen.
Hi, thank you. I lead with type 9 and I have a question about when I do deep breathing like that, sometimes I just can't stop yawning.
Mm-hmm.
What's up with that? And also I wonder, I used to take Qigong and they call this belly breathing Dantian. Is this similar to that? But you've connected it also with the chest breathing, which is just more of a flow, but yeah.
Yeah, there are a lot of similarities to Chinese breath work and yogic breath work. But they are completely different systems. I think in essence, they are trying to do the same things, but they go about it a little bit differently and they talk about it a little bit differently, and their process is a little bit different. I have a good friend and client who has studied Kung Fu for 25 plus years, and we'll often talk about the differences and similarities of these two systems, but like one of my teachers always says, don't mix systems. Like they're not exactly the same. So you'll be better to like really understand this and then step over and really understand that. Um, but as far as the yawning piece, so one of the big things that we talked about to kind of talk about it in a Western sense is when we do this kind of deep breathing, it is stimulating to the vagus nerve, which essentially tells our body that we're safe. And it shifts us out of our sympathetic nervous system, which is like our fight or flight, and puts us into what's called rest and digest. And so it sends us into the parasympathetic nervous system where we can relax. And so that's one of the things that we're trained to pay attention to in yoga therapy school is like the what we call the biological and physiological signs of state change, right? So the things that show us that your system as a person is in a different state than what it was. Swallowing a lot, yawning, body shifts, right? Different, the way the body can relax into those spaces. And those are things that let us know that we've effectively moved into a space where the body feels safe. So if you're doing a lot of breath work and you're yawning, it means you've kind of like downshifted your nervous system. If that's not what you're wanting, there are breathwork practices, especially yogic breathwork practices that are designed to bring the energy back up. So as a 9, we would start with some foundational breath techniques, but we would very quickly move into techniques designed to help you hold more of your own energy instead of dissipating it the way the 9s kind of do habitually. And so we would work with practices that help to bring in and store up and contain your life force instead of kind of always running kind of on empty or close to that E mark on your tank. Um, yeah, thank you for that question. Holly, how about you?
Do you have any to speak through the lens of my social five? Do you have any tips, tricks, tools for quieting a busy mind when you're doing breath
Mm,
work? Because when I
mhm.
start doing it, stories in
Yeah.
my head.
I was chatting with Evangeline and Pat while y'all were in the breakout rooms, and one of the things that I think is super effective, I mean, for head types especially, before moving into things like meditation or even breath work, is to get in your body, move around.
Hmm.
That is one of the biggest supports because it helps to ground you in your body, but it helps to burn off a little bit of the static energy
Sure.
that can be really present for head center types. I have a client who, when we were working together, we developed this practice where she would put on a song and she would dance around for 3 minutes
Hmm.
before sitting down to do meditation. And it was one of the
Oh,
most like effective things for her. So same thing for breath work, you may need to kind of shake the body out a little bit and get a little more embodied and grounded before you get into this space. Um, and especially as a five, I can't recommend enough like the philosophical aspects of yoga because they really help to it's kind of like giving your five a little carrot to follow as you
hmm.
become more embodied, because the system of yoga is an embodied philosophy. So it's like you get something for your mind to chew on while you bring your body along.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I mean, I have a
Lovely.
lot of five clients for that reason.
Okay, thank you. That's good. But can I ask one little question?
Yeah,
When
sure.
you talked about the breath, the stale breath can stay within you for 7 days. Can you talk a little bit more about that? That like my five went, I want to know more.
Yeah. Well, so essentially, like your your lungs are just bags, right? Like they're just bags of air. And so if our breath is not being like if I don't have a bag with me, but if I had like if you can imagine trying to get like a trash bag or like a Walmart bag or whatever, and like you squeeze like if I were to wrinkle it all the way up, it's all the way empty, right? So then when I fling it out, it can fill all the way. But if I only like squeeze half of it out, right, then there's
Sure.
all this stuff that stays there. And then what
Oh,
that does is it limits how much new breath can come in, right? And so even though you're taking a
mhm.
breath, you're only filling up like halfway. So then you only have that much space and capacity.
Right.
Westerners, we think about the breath starting with an inhale, but the breath starts with an exhale. The
Mhm.
beginning of the breath is your exhale. You have to, and what's interesting is like that's also actually the most active part of the breath. Like you have to work, right? You have to draw in your entire
Mhm.
core, all of those deep like lower belly muscles, your
Right.
transverse abdominis. You have to pull all of that in to get this to fully exhale. And it's only when we've let go and released everything that we have that we can be
Yes.
fully open to all the things that we need.
And isn't that so Western too? We have to let go in order to receive. And but
Mhm.
we're like just all like consume, consume, do it. Like
I'm just gonna keep breathing in.
ah, right, right, right. It's like no, we have to like empty the bag before we can get more. Thank you everyone
Yeah,
for letting me monopolize this
yeah.
conversation. Thank you,
We'll
Abby.
take one more question, Sheila.
So I had a really great conversation with Jen to recognize that as the nine, because breath I have never really focused on as far as up top, but
Mhm.
pointing out that when I need to assert myself, I need that breath up here, not down below.
Yep.
So how, I mean, that just totally blew my mind right now. So, so as far as managing that up here, because I'm also one to one, so I know the intensity is
Mhm.
automatically there. So how to control that breath, use it without
Mhm.
letting it use me.
Yeah.
in that
Yeah, and this is where like regular practice is going to be the most important thing that you can do, right? Because you had a great experience where you're like, oh, okay, I'm noticing this is really hard. I don't want to move here, right? What regular practice does is um, make space for this stuff to loosen over time. So essentially, if all you did was practice that breath technique that we did um, every day, set a timer, do it for 5 minutes every day, it becomes easier and easier and easier and easier. And over time, you develop the capacity to hold that energy without having to kind of off gas it through your one-to-one instinct, right? This is what happens for one-to-one nines. They get an energy, right? They get that umph, and then they immediately have to funnel it into someone else or something else outside of themselves because they don't have the strong enough container to hold it. And so regular practice, even of just this simple thing, helps to create the container that makes it possible for you to hold that energy and call on it when you need it. Yeah. And so with all that, I will say everyone else can shoot me questions. I'll make sure that my email address is in the chat. I'd love to answer more questions if you have follow-up questions, all that good stuff. But I'll shoot it over to Evangeline for our little wrap up.
Thank you, Abby, so much. We could just keep going, but our hour is ticking away. So I'm going to be giving some announcements, and then we end with the loving kindness meditation. But what I'm going to do first is launch a poll. So I'm sure you can multitask and listen to announcements and take the poll at the same time. So you should be seeing that on your screen. Pretty simple questions. And also keep your listening ears open. The first announcement is about Abby, and they will be offering a full day retreat. So this is a little taste of an online Enneagram and yoga retreat scheduled for Saturday, May the 9th. And it's called Flow and Flourish, an online Enneagram and yoga retreat. Pat is putting the different links into the chats. So if you're interested to learn more about the program and register, you can just go to the chat and click directly on the link. Also, another thing to learn about Abby is there was a new blog published just today called The Vehicle and the Map, A Journey with Yoga, the Enneagram, and Abby Robbins. That link to the article will be in the chat also for you. And the next announcement is our Narrative Enneagram community gathering for next month, which will be Thursday, May 21st at 10 a.m. Pacific. And the title of that gathering is The Enneagram, Intimacy, and Love. And then Suzanne Dion will be my co-host. And we'll be inviting you to an exploration of intimacy and love through the lens of the Enneagram. She will also be sharing the legacy teachings of David Daniels, our Narrative Enneagram co-founder. And this will also be a great preview for an upcoming book study group that we'll be having online that Suzanne will be hosting. And there's also another event that's coming up. If you are working with the Enneagram as a professional, Chichi Agorum will be, she's one of our core faculty members. She'll be doing a session on how to integrate context into Enneagram work. And this will be on May 1st from 11 to 12:30 Pacific. And we'll be exploring the question, how do I effectively use the contextual information I've gathered to inform typing interviews, panels, or one-to-one work? If you're already a professional member, you may attend this for free or as a regular community member. Otherwise, it'll be $35 for if you're a member but not a professional, or if you're a non-member, anyone can attend. And another event that's coming up is a free event on May 15th. Renee Rosario, who is also one of our core faculty members, will be exploring the question, how can the Enneagram support your therapy practice? So if you are a therapist or work one-to-one with clients, she's going to give you kind of an overview of how the Enneagram can deepen the client rapport by creating a bond of mutual discovery, to be able to see beneath the surface of things and uncover more of the whys behind repetitive patterns and expanding the choices available for change. One more announcement, and then we'll be ending with the meditation. As of course, all of our events are on our Narrative Enneagram program calendar. And while many of you are, so happy that we have all these online programs, sometimes you just want to get in the same room with people and do the work there. And we will be having a hybrid program, Experience the Narrative Enneagram, coming up in July in Denver. It'll be a weekend, the 17th through the 19th. And they're having the two types of registration. So people can join online, or they can decide that they want to attend in person. And the link that Pat's posting about that will be able to give you all the details that you need to know. And I appreciate you just being with me to hear what we've got going on. And now I'd like to invite you all to end our time together with our loving kindness meditation. And just as we started this morning or this afternoon, wherever you happen to be, we start by bringing our attention in and down. I invite you, if you wish, you can close your eyes again, or just bring soft awareness down and settle back into this breath that we have, breathing in and down, and just noticing wherever you are right now. And this loving kindness meditation, which we do every month together, is intended to bring a little kindness whenever we are struggling and we don't know what to do or how we can help. And we're going to be saying it once for ourselves, once for another, and once for all beings. So you can repeat after me if you wish, or just speak it silently to yourself, starting with ourselves. May I be healthy. May I be happy. May I be free from suffering. May I be at peace. And as you continue your breath, I invite you to put your hand over your heart space. And I want you to bring into your heart someone that's close to you, a loved one who may be struggling right now. Just imagine this person with you. May you be healthy. May you be happy. May you be free from suffering. May you be at peace. And finally, we'll be saying this now for all beings. knowing that this time in the world with so much conflict and uncertainty and sometimes chaos and fear, how some of this loving kindness can help each other in the world. May all beings be healthy. May all beings be happy. May all beings be free from suffering. May all beings be at peace. Just take another moment noticing where you are right now. Now you can open your eyes. I invite you to unmute yourself as we say goodbye for today. And I just invite us all to kind of come in a little bit closer. Just feel the power of this intention of loving kindness in the world, the work that we individually do with the narrative Enneagram, the more that we can work on our others, on ourselves. I mean, we have such a capacity to be there for others. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Abby.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you all for
Thank you
coming.
all.
Abby, Evangeline.
Thank you, Evangeline.
Oh,
Bye-bye.
So much.
Have a lovely day.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you
Abby.
all. Thank you, Abby. Thank you, Evangeline.
bye-bye. Thank you.